Hello and welcome to Marriage and Motherhood. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Michelle Purta and I'm a marriage coach for moms. And I'm super stoked to have you here. So, welcome. You will not find more supportive ladies than here. I'm very proud of this community. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Jessica. Tell me how you're doing. It's kind of heavy this week, but trying to choose to find pockets of joy. We had some wins, and of course, there continues to be a struggle, but I choose to focus on the good and keep moving forward. All right, so again, if you're popping on here live with me, say hi. If you're catching the replay, say hi anyway. And let's get to this. Hello, Tao. How are you all doing? It's hot here. I want to take the kids outside, but it's already hot. It's already 86 degrees. And I'm in California. It's 11 a.m. I don't want to go out there and start sweating. All right, so I want to share about what it means to put your husband first and my experience with it when I first heard this concept. And I'm going to share what it actually means. And I want to hear from you guys what your thoughts are, what your experiences were when you first heard it, whether it was from me, someone else. Please chime in so we can all learn together and start to implement the different things I'll talk about, okay? Last week I posted about it and some people were triggered, some people were in complete agreement, and some people were like, in certain situations I agree. So I wanted to address that in this live. So if you have any comments, please type them in. I will be checking here and there. If you see me looking down, I'm checking my phone to read the comments. Okay, so the first time I heard this concept of you have to put your husband before your kids, I was deeply triggered. I wasn't a mom yet, but I heard this from my ex-boyfriend's mom. And when I first heard it, I have to admit, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard, really. And it triggered me because I was raised to be very independent, to not let a man control my life and to do me, right? So if you're not familiar with my backstory, my parents are divorced. My mom remarried, but during her first marriage, right, with my dad, she was the classic martyr, did everything for the family. She took care of kids, she took care of the house, and my dad lived up his life, watching sports, hanging out on the couch, going out with friends, and I did not witness any regular intimacy between them, right? There was no affection going on. I think I saw them kiss a handful of times growing up, and they got divorced when I was about 11. Okay, so they were married before I was born. I'm the oldest, and yet I only witnessed them kiss a handful of times. Do I remember their date nights being a regular thing? No, they were always with us. I do remember them arguing. I do remember a lot of tension. And so me growing up, I thought moms put their kids first. That's just how it goes, right? And I'm imagining a lot of you are thinking the same, right? When you have kids, they need you, right? Right now I have a newborn. She's going to be 8 weeks old on, what is it? Is it Wednesday already? Tomorrow, right? And I get it. I completely get it. They're fully dependent on you to feed them, to take care of them, to sometimes entertain them. And your husband has been living for a really long time and he's fully capable of taking care of himself. So you're going to default to taking care of your child and getting into motherhood, that role of motherhood. It's really easy to put yourself on the back burner and just solely focus on your child to get that tunnel vision, right? So while you're taking care of the child, you don't really have time to take care of yourself. Where is that time to tend to your husband coming from? Nowhere, right? So this deeply triggered me, my sense of independence, and it made me think that it meant something, to put my husband first, right? I thought that it meant that I had to succumb to all his needs and desires, to, be on my knees and be like, what do you want? Here's a bell, ring it if you need me, right? I will do everything and anything for you to be that subservient wife. But that is against everything that my mom taught me to be as a result of her divorcing and reclaiming her independence, right? And after having time to digest the concept of putting your husband first, I realized some things, right? So before I share what I realized, share with me what your experience is growing up with your parents, right? Did your mom put your husband or put her husband, your dad, first? What was that like? Or did your mom put the kids first? What was that like? What did you take away from your childhood and witnessing what marriage was like according to how your parents decided? Share with me in the comments. I would really love to know where you are all coming from. Okay, so while you guys share, I'm going to share what I realized after some time had passed, after I had processed when I first heard that and unpacked why I was triggered by listening to this. So putting your husband first does not mean saying yes to him all of the time. It doesn't. It doesn't mean neglecting the kids or yourself or even betraying yourself. Okay. Now, what I mean by betraying yourself is breaking promises to yourself because your husband has a different opinion, because he wants something different. Okay. Putting your husband first does not mean nothing else matters. There's tons of things that matter. We all have multiple priorities, multiple things that we want to accomplish, multiple things that we need to care for, right? Myself, my kids, my family, my friendships, my work, etc., etc. Okay, putting your husband first does not mean that you don't have any other priorities. So tagging along to what I just said, right? Priority of yours could be, I really want my career to skyrocket. I really want to be a present mom. I really want to be present in life in general, right? Putting your husband first also doesn't mean that you're waiting on him hand and foot by fulfilling all his needs and desires when he wants them. Is it important to factor in what his preferences are and to actually listen to him and care about his feelings? Yes. But you're still a person too. What you want, what's important to you, who you stand for, what you stand for, and who you are matters too. It doesn't mean erasing everything that makes up you and your values and your morals just because he wants something. Okay? Let that sink in. I'm going to share what people are saying in the comments. Tao said, my mom put my dad's needs before ours. She's a true traditional woman, like a maid to him, sadly. Oh, yeah, I totally get that. That is so common in the Asian community and even in the white community. I've had a lot of clients who are white, and I've heard that as well. You know, the woman takes on the very traditional route of her role being anything outside of her own desires, right? To take care of the home, a true domestic wife. Laura says, my sister and I were most important, and even though they loved each other, I don't remember them setting boundaries with us to say that they were going to go on a date or spend time on themselves. They took maybe 2 vacations away from us as we grew up. Yeah. So the wonderful thing about being a part of this generation, I feel like, is self-care is such a huge conversation right now. And if you know anything about me, I am a huge advocate for self-care. And as you know, with this live, putting your husband first, right? Not having that experience, witnessing your parents put each other first above the kids affects how you show up in your relationship heavily, right? So if you're missing connection and wanting better conversations with your husband, wanting that tighter knit relationship, it's likely because you're not putting the relationship first. Okay, and I will go into detail about what that actually means. Hello, May. Hello, Erica. Thank you guys for joining. Let me know how you're doing. Okay, so putting him first means keeping him in mind. That's it. If I had to dumb it down to something super basic, I would say that's all that really means, is keeping him in mind. Okay, a lot of times we get so busy with mom life, with work life, with our own life, we forget to check in. What's his experience? What does he want to do, right? Life is moving like, I don't know, 100 miles an hour, it seems like, especially with this whole quarantine mess, right? And with the heaviness of everything that's going on in our nation with people struggling. There's so many different things that can borrow our attention, right? Oh, the kids are hungry. The kids are fighting. I need to go to the bathroom alone. I don't know about you, but my younger son likes to follow me. You're hungry. You forget to feed yourself, right? Whatever it may be, there are always things that are vying for your attention. And it requires you to be intentional about checking in with your husband, being present with him when you're there, not on your phone, not trying to order groceries, not trying to plan out what you're going to do with the kids, but actually being present and keeping him in mind. That consideration, that's what it means to put your husband first, right? It's conscious effort. And that's what relationships require, conscious effort. It's not skating by. It's not just letting time pass and saying, yay, we got to 10 years. What does 10 years mean if you're not feeling connected? Anyone could let time pass, right? Anyone. So it also means making decisions to support your marriage goals. Do you have marriage goals? How do you want your marriage to be in the years to come? Heck, how do you want your marriage to be next month? How do you want to feel about it? How do you want to feel while you're in it? What are you working towards? Where do you struggle in your relationship? Are you making movement towards having a better relationship? Are you making progress? Are you trying different things? Are you working as a team? Right? What are you doing to change your marriage if you want it to change? I always want my marriage to change. I want my marriage to evolve over time. I am always about progress in my marriage. And when I say always, I don't mean 24/7, right? I have other things that are important to me. But as soon as you notice something's lacking or something's up, what do you do about that? Do you let the next thing distract you and then you move on? And then guess what? You're still in the same place or maybe worse. Or do you take action? And do you work towards those marriage goals? Right? Okay, Laura says, I love that conscious effort. Yes, conscious effort is very important. I mean, in all facets of your life that are important to you, conscious effort is what's going to help you get closer to obtaining what you want. Right? Hello, Claudia. Hello, Tara or Tara. Not sure how you pronounce your name, but hello. Okay. So to help you make progress towards a type of relationship you want to have when you're old and wrinkly, or not wrinkly because of some incredible anti-aging cream. What this looks like is not overextending yourself or your family so that it's not difficult to make time to connect, right? I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of moms feel like they have to fill in every single minute of the day for their kids, whether it's soccer, gym, gym, but by gym, I mean gymnastics, or, some kind of academic thing, play dates, birthday parties, visiting family. I mean, you could come up with tons of things for your kids to do, but at the end of the day, how are you, right? You're the one shuttling them, or your husband is. Someone's doing the coordinating, someone's doing the prepping, someone's doing the taking, someone's doing the picking up. It all requires mental and physical energy. And that is exhausting. Now, I'm not saying don't do any of that. It's important. But bring it back to, how does that affect your marriage? Does that leave any space for you to have the energy to be present with him? Does that leave any time for you to have those regular check-ins, those regular dates, regular physical intimacy, right? Do you have anything left over for yourself and for him? If the answer is no, it's time to put your husband first. And by that, I mean taking a look at how you're doing life. Is it more important for you to have your kids involved in all of these things? Or is it more important to you to be connected to your husband? And how can you decide what to do, how much to do, to support your higher goal? Which one is more of a priority, right? You can still develop your kids, have them engaged without overexerting yourself. Do you have to go to every birthday party? No. It says nothing about you except that you're busy, right? And your excuse to be busy, which you do not have to provide an excuse for, by the way, to turn down an invitation, could be you're washing your hair. Or you want your kids to be bored for once so that they can exercise creativity at home, right? Boredom breeds creativity. Heck, when I tell my kids that they can't watch TV at a certain time, they start building things with Legos. Yesterday, they made this crazy Hot Wheels track. It was impressive, but they wouldn't have been able to do that or had the opportunity to do that if I just said, yeah, sure, watch your TV show. Okay. It also means, in the same vein, not burning yourself out so you don't have the energy to connect, right? So be honest with yourself. How much can you sustain? You don't need to be super mom, or you can redefine super mom if you want to consider yourself super mom, right? Make sure that what you're involving yourself in actually is having the impact that you want, is helping you lead the life that you want, right? Again, back to conscious effort. It requires intentionality. It requires effort for you to have the life that you want. And that means saying no to some things. It means saying yes to others, right? Because when you say yes to everything, you also have to think about what you're saying no to. Are you saying no to yourself too much? Are you saying no to your husband too much? It doesn't even have to be a verbal no. It could just be by overextending yourself and not having the energy, you're inherently saying no, right? Hello, Lisa. Thank you for watching. How are you doing? I miss our in-person gatherings. I hope to hug you soon. All right. Where am I? Okay. It also means keeping your promises and showing up to do what you say you're going to do, right? If you commit to connecting once a week, show up, be present. Don't let it sneak up on you and think, oh, well, I had all of these other things to do and now I'm too tired. I'm just going to go to bed, right? What if you create your day to support what you say you're going to do? So if you're going to connect and say, watch a show together, play a board game together, go to bed earlier and be intimate with each other, make sure your day, as much as you can help it, right? We can't control everything. Make sure your day sets you up for success to accomplish that, right? To keep your word. Keeping your word builds trust. It builds connection. So make sure you keep your promises. And the same goes for dates, right? I get it's exhausting to plan them. It's exhausting to prepare for them and then to go on them and think about all the things that are required in order for you to first leave the kids, right? Or in this case, in quarantine, you're not going anywhere. If you're anywhere like here, we're still on lockdown, right? It does take extra effort to have that date night in, to get creative and simulate having a date night out while you're at home, while your kids are upstairs or wherever. But if you don't put in the effort now, you're going to put the effort in later. How? Arguing, feeling disconnected, right? So where do you want your effort to go? It's going to go somewhere. It looks like also having his back when you disagree with him by choosing to show him respect in front of other people, right? And sharing your concerns in private. It's okay to have a different opinion. But when you have a different opinion, are you then putting him on blast in public? Or are you saving it for later and having conversation around it in private, right? Men highly value feeling respected, and that's a huge part of it. Is not embarrassing him in front of other people. Have that conversation in private. And this goes for in front of your kids as well, right? Anytime my husband and I disagree about how something was dealt with the kids, the other person, the person who's disagreeing, will keep their mouth shut and wait. For me and him, if one of us can't wait and we desperately need for something else to be done, we'll text each other. The kids have no idea, right? What this allows for is for you to collectively work as a team. To say, hey, like, I see you, I could see you're frustrated. Have you thought about this? Or, hey, do you need a break? I need to tag you out? Right? By not addressing it in front of the kids, you still get to show up as a team. And then when you talk about it in the background, right, away from the kids, you get to decide how to proceed going forward. Is there any backpedaling that needs to happen? If so, you guys can figure it out together, or the person who went overboard can figure out how they can achieve that without making it look like one person disagreed. You get to still show up in front of the kids as a team, right? So Chandra says, I love that. How do you say it? Especially in front of kids. Yeah, you don't show that you're not a team. You can make up an excuse like, oh, hey, can you help me in the kitchen? Or texting, right? You can check in with each other. If it's an anger thing, right? If it's a temperament thing, you say, hey, you okay? Do you need me to take over? Or, hey, I felt uncomfortable with that. Can you walk me through what happened? And get curious, right? Don't assume, get curious. Could there be more to it than you're aware of? Possibly. Could it be they had a bad day and they didn't realize they were taking it on the kids? Likely. Could it be a trigger of their childhood and how they were treated and how they think that parenting needs to go? And then that generates an opportunity for a bigger conversation about where you two stand on how you want to raise the kids, so that you guys can come to an agreement on how things are handled, right? It could go in a million different directions, but you won't know until you open that conversation and get curious and listen. I hope I answered you, Chandra. Let me know if you want something more specific. Okay. Lisa says, Is it good to model how to resolve disagreements rather than the kids not knowing there was? Absolutely. It is important for them to witness. Thank you for asking this, Lisa. It's important for them to be able to witness conflict resolution, but depending on the type, right? If it's about how to parent the child, I highly recommend you take that away from the kids. They don't need to see that there's a crack in the team, because guess what? They're gonna wedge in there and try and open the crack even further, because they will try and work the system. But if it's about something else, by all means, if you're able to have a relatively calm conversation without criticizing each other, without rolling your eyes, without getting an attitude, and have a mature conversation about it where both sides are respectful and you're able to come to a resolution where you're both hearing each other out, by all means, please model that. That's what they need, because I did not get a healthy model for how to communicate. My mom decided that her form of communication means shutting down and not having a conversation at all, and or shutting the other person down and saying the conversation's over and just leaving with no resolution and then pretending like nothing happened. Okay, if that's you, work towards having assertive conversation, having those uncomfortable conversations when you're ready, and let them witness it. Chandra says, I think it's very important to show we resolve arguments or disagreements in front of kids. And she's still navigating through that process too. I love what Lisa asked. Yes, Lisa, that was a beautiful question. Lisa says, that makes sense. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay. This also looks like putting in the effort to show him love, how he prefers to receive it, right? If you're not familiar with the 5 love languages, please Google it, take the test, have your husband take the test, or if your husband's like me and he doesn't want to take the test, read the questions to him and pick the answers he chooses so that you guys can figure out what your dominant love language is, okay? So very briefly, if you're not familiar with love language, it's basically the concept that Gary Chapman came up with, that everyone has a dominant way they prefer to receive love, okay? And without knowing this, you're likely expressing love to your partner in the way that you prefer to receive love, rather than the way he prefers to receive love. And if those aren't the same, right? If the way you receive love is not the same that he prefers to receive love, you are wasting your time. And you're thinking, I'm doing all these things to show you I love you. And he's like, why doesn't she show me she loves me? I don't ever feel like she loves me. That is why. Okay? It's convenient when it's the same, but it's not always the same. You want to make sure that the time you're spending showing your love is actually counting, right? We don't have time to waste. So go take that test, okay? There are 5 different love languages. There's acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, and receiving gifts. Go take that test. Let me know what you get and what your husband gets. I can offer you suggestions on how to navigate that, all right? Chandra says, how important is it to establish communication based on astrological signs or Enneagram? Oh, I love that you said that, because I am super into that stuff. A lot of people are not. My husband thinks I'm crazy, but whatever, I don't care. You know, it can play a part. I think it's important to take all of that with a grain of salt, because we cannot all be pigeonholed. We're all different. And to a certain extent, I think we all kind of have qualities in each of the astrological signs. We just have more of the one that we were born into. And I think we could use that as some input, right? As to how to navigate working with your partner. I think the more we know about them, the more we can decide how we want to show up in support of how they might be. And also being aware of how we are, right? I'm an Aries. I am passionate. I can be very passionate. I'm also fleeting, right? I love to dabble in different activities, right? And it's very important to know that about yourself, about how you are, so that you can take ownership over when you show up in a way that elicited a certain reaction out of him, right? But also knowing how you guys can be compatible and how you guys can butt heads. I think it's important. It's not an end all be all, but it's helpful if that interests you, okay? But I'm always going to default to being self-aware and exploring that, as well as exploring with him what his tendencies are, what his thoughts are, what his experiences are, his past. Okay, all of that is really important. Hello, Kelsey. Hello, Monica. Thank you for joining in. Chandra says, oh, that helps a lot. I'm on the cusp of Pisces and Aries, and he's an Aquarius. Yeah. I mean, I think the more information, the better, so that you can make decisions that support what you want. Okay. So go take that 5 love language test. Okay. So what putting your husband first also means is making decisions with him so that you two can be on the same page and show that you care about his preferences and be a team. When you consider someone else, that builds trust. It builds intimacy. It builds a bond, right? This is what strengthens your relationship. Imagine when you were a kid and your parents did not give a single care about what you wanted. How did that feel? Is that something you want to create in your relationship? Or do you want a relationship where you both care about how you feel about things and you want to both touch base on big decisions, how things are done, how the schedule is going to be run, right? How to raise your kids, whatever, who's going to do what chores, right? This can span across all decisions in your relationship. And having that compassion and honoring what you each think and feel and want is important, right? It creates a level of freedom as well, of autonomy. No one ever likes to feel controlled in a relationship, but we all like controlling, don't we? That's the funny thing. We all like to control, but we don't all like to feel controlled. So, something to keep in mind, okay? And when you are having a moment where you're butting heads and you want to consider the preferences, but it directly goes against what your preferences are, and there's no in between, which sometimes it does seem like it's, black and white, no pun intended. Sometimes it does feel like that, and there is no gray area. What I recommend doing and what I practice in my marriage is moving back to what you do agree on. And if that means going all the way back to we love each other, start from there. Start with agreement and figure out, okay, well, what are you trying to accomplish with the method that you want to go with? Go with the criteria. Maybe you guys can come up with something creative. Maybe more options can come up because of that, because you're not so set on my way or his way. Come up with our way. Okay? Could mean reframing. It could mean challenging how you're thinking of things. It could mean defining how you're envisioning it. Maybe what he's saying looks different to him than it does to you. Maybe what you're saying looks different to him than it looks to you. Maybe it means clearly articulating what it all means, because it could be a misunderstanding. Hello, Christy. Hello, Dana. Thank you for joining. All right. Let's see what else. Boundaries. This is huge. I want to say that all my clients end up in some fashion working with me on setting up boundaries, honoring boundaries, and keeping them. Okay. In this case, when it comes to putting your husband first, setting boundaries with other people to honor your marriage, like teaching your kids not to interrupt you guys when you guys are speaking. I am huge on this. Okay. Because it's really easy to be like, hold on to your husband and tend to your kid because they're impatient. I'm hungry. I'm bored. Can I do this? Can I do that? Right? When you show your kids that your conversation with your husband that took place before they thought they needed something, when you do that, it teaches them, oh, A, it's rude in general, but B, that what you're doing with your husband is important and you value him just as much as you value them. And you will not allow for that unless it's a safety issue. You will not allow what they need to supersede what you're doing with your husband. Okay? Very, very important. You can give your kids the tools to navigate that, right? Okay, when you need something, tap my hand. And when I squeeze it, that means that I will get to you as soon as I'm done with your dad. Okay, you can still acknowledge, but do not let them derail your conversation with your husband, because by doing that, you're telling your husband, our kids are more important than you. Doesn't matter what you want right now, I will get to you when I'm done with them, even though you started off with him, right? So be mindful of what messages you're sending with your actions. Okay, hello. Oh, I already said hello, Christy. I'm gonna say hi again. Mom, right? Oh, Chandra, you're so sweet. She said, I'm amazing. I think you're amazing. Okay, how else? How else? Upholding bedtimes. Ooh, I am so big on this. Not only for myself, because I need time to unwind, be by myself, check in with myself, but also I like to spend time with my husband. Heck, I didn't marry him just to procreate. I married him because I want to enjoy each other. I care about him, he cares about me. I want to develop our relationship as time goes on. There is no peak to the relationship. I want it to keep getting better and better and better. All right. And what that looks like is holding firm to bedtime. And I will straight up tell my kids, no, mommy and daddy need time together now. You can go read if you want, right? So my older one, I'll let him read for half an hour before he turns off the lights. I'll say goodnight, do the whole thing. Like, no, this is your time to yourself. I need time to myself, or I need time with your dad now. And I'm not afraid to say that. Right? Yes, exactly, Chandra. Self-care, so important. And never stop dating your husband. I 100% support that and encourage that, right? Just because you become a wife does not mean you stop being a girlfriend. Don't forget that. Okay, what else? Being intentional with your time together, right? Scheduling your dates if that works for you, right? What works for me is when we schedule a date, before we end our date, we schedule our next one, because I know what's going to happen. I know life is going to go by, and then we're going to start fighting because we haven't connected in a while. And then who wants to set up a date when you're fighting? Nobody. Alone time is the last thing you want to start doing with your husband when you're fighting, right? That's when you wake up in the morning and you look over and you're like, ugh, I'm going to go hang out with my kids because they're more enjoyable, right? No, set your relationship up for success. What does that look like in your relationship? Is that weekly dates? Is that having dates twice a week? Is that having dates once a month? What does your relationship need to continue moving forward, to continue growing, to continue feeling better, right? What does your relationship need? Everyone is different. So make sure you're doing things to support that, whether that's having date nights at home, doing new things together, having a babysitter, sending him off to your parents, his parents, your siblings, whoever you trust. What does that look like? And how are you supporting it? All right. Also checking in with each other every now and then. I'm like, hey, how's work? How you doing? How's our marriage doing? How's our marriage feeling to you? What do you need from me that I'm not providing? What are you not saying because you don't know how to say to me? Now, I will go more into this at another time. I'll do a live just about that, because if that feels weird to you, trust me, it was weird to me at first too. And then I kept doing it and I kept doing it. And now my husband doesn't think it's a trap, right? It's not. I genuinely want to know. I genuinely want to know his experience in our marriage, because if I don't know, I can't do anything about it, right? All right. Let's see. Last but not least, how often are you doing things to make him feel loved? This could be as little as hugging him, greeting him, showing him you're happy to see him, slapping his butt to flirt, whatever. It could be micro gestures to show him that you care about him. It could be looking at him from across the room and smiling and sending messages like, hey, I love you. Or, hey, I can't wait till tonight. Whatever. Again, going back to conscious effort. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. It doesn't have to be like hours in a day, right? I know our kids demand more of our time, but you still get to put your husband first with your intentions, with your conscious effort, right? The mom thing is, for the most part, is pretty automated. We know what we need to do, right? They need to eat. They need to be clean. They need some kind of stimulation. Cool, you got it. You've been doing it for a while. You are pro. And plus, you have Google to help you. You have Pinterest to help you. There's so many mom groups and so many accounts on Instagram to follow to show you what you can do. But for your husband, put in that conscious effort, put in that intention, be present, do what you need to do to make sure that that lasts, because you two are the foundation of the family. So make sure that foundation stays strong. Okay. All right. That's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, please pop them in. Again, if you're watching the replay, please still engage. I will go back and read all the comments and answer any questions that you guys have. And yeah, I'm going to go enjoy some lunch on time, which I'm super stoked about, because lately I've been eating lunch at 2 p.m. and it's 12 o'clock here. So that's a win for me today. All right, go do some self-care for you guys today, whatever that looks like. Going to the bathroom by yourself, enjoying your coffee hot, going for a walk, whatever. Do it, and do it with pleasure. Enjoy it. Stay safe, guys, and I will see you guys later. Bye.